The Nifty has opened up with some gains. We're sitting with a gain of around 40 points odd. There is some pain in the mid-cap index, though. That's doing a relative underperformance today. Hey, Mangalam, but can't complain when you open up with some green. And we've been quite steady in the last few days. I think that crucial technical level of around 10,750 odd, that's going to be quite a stiff resistance.
Absolutely. Let's see whether we go there or not, because today's day's high, 10,742, and the 200-day moving average have been absolutely the same. Will there be another dash at that level or not is the big question, because I was looking at the Asian markets and they've moved to the high point of the day. All the frontline Asian indices, the Nikkei is now sitting with a gain of over 1%. The Hang Seng, Shanghai, remember, opening in the red and now has moved to the green. So all the Asian markets doing fairly well. So there is a fair amount of support from the global markets. Let's see whether we make that another dash or not.
Yeah, and some of those metal stocks actually are off the low point of the day. They've been getting hit quite badly. There are various fears that are going on. One is that global growth, is it slowing down? Point number one. Point number two is that, in fact, when the rupee has appreciated, will not be very, very good news because imports get cheaper. And the most important point is that Chinese steel prices have corrected by nearly around 15% odd. So we're bracing ourselves. Come December 1st, I spoke to a lot of dealers. They're saying that it's definitely going to be a price cut because importing steel is much cheaper. So let's pull up the metal index. Actually, it's recovered from the low point of the day. Mangalam, there's another thing that I'm looking at, whether or not Trump and Xi Jinping, whether they can come on the same page. That's going to be important now. Overnight, US steel stocks were under pressure. If those companies believed that they're not going to come together, then in fact, those stocks would held on to this gain. So the very fact that they're seeing some selling pressure, maybe in fact, if both of them make peace with each other and both the US and China, they come on the same page, that will be not very good news because all that protection that they've enjoyed, maybe that'll come off, just maybe. But some of these steel stocks, some of these metal stocks, they've seen a sharp correction in the last 7-8 days, and some of them have come off the low point of the day.
Important meeting to crack that Trump and Xi Jinping. Remember the commentary coming in from the White House.
And the translation also is going to be important.
Absolutely.
This time it's not only going to be what they say, but even the translation, you have to keep an eye out on that.
Absolutely, you have to. But, yesterday the commentary that came in from the White House was in absolute English. They said they've been having a lot of conversations with the Chinese officials ahead of that meeting, so we will keep an eye out on that. But our director says headlines, and headlines it is this morning. Yes Bank continues to slide. The stock falls over 4% today after Moody's downgrades the rating on the stock and changes its outlook to negative.
And pharma stocks in news today. Lupin CFO Ramesh Swaminathan resigns while Sun Pharma responds to CNBC TV18 query on the sales note by a foreign brokerage. Says all the information is in public domain. They believe that they are in compliance with all the legal and regulatory provisions.
IOC, BPCL and HPCL trade with modest losses after crude prices see a mild uptick. Brent hovers near the $61 per barrel mark.
And RBL Bank falls over 3% today after Kotak Institutional Equities downgrades the bank to sell. They say that there is limited room to remain positive on the bank at current price. Reliance Capital gains today after their asset quality improves in the second quarter of this fiscal.
Arvind trades ex-demerger today. It is the textile business that is trading today. The stock lists at 110 per share, under pressure as investors more bullish on the non-demerged branded retail businesses. All right, with that, we get a technical check on the markets. Before we do that, we have a couple of pharmaceutical stocks. They're not doing too well. In fact, Sun Pharmaceuticals opened with a gain of about 1.5%, and then from there, we've seen a bit of a sell-off, currently trading at closer to the lower end of today's trading range. We have Dr. Reddy's too, trading closer to the lower end of today's trading range. We have Bajaj Fin from the financial space also moving to the low point of the day. Higher crude, not too good for paint stocks. Asian Paints at the low point of the day. But let's get in Ashwini Gujral and his view on the market. Ashwini, we made a dash towards the 200-day moving average once. Do you think there is another shot at that?
See, the problem is that everybody is long now. And if everybody is long, then what shorts are there left to be covered? So what you need is the market to give you some decline before you have a fresh entry. But if you are, in instance, 10,500, etc., then you can easily put a 10, 650, 670 type of stop and continue to ride. But I don't see the market making a dash without going through a reasonable correction. So don't buy today. Buy after you have one big downside day and there's no follow through on the downside. Today, most likely you are going to be choppy.
And individual stocks, Ashwini, at this point in time?
See, on metal stocks, all this negativity is probably priced in. So I am positive on Tata Steel, Hindalco, etc. You had 7, 8, 10 sessions of consecutive downsides. So that's as far as metal is concerned and IT is concerned. I think there could be some rotation out of banks into IT and metal. Having said that, Infosys, Tata Elxsi is a buy with a stop of 1010, target of 1055. BML is a buy with a stop of 760, target of 795. And NIT Tech is a buy with a stop of 995, target of 1045. Last couple of days, the large caps in IT have done well. I think there could be some catch up even on mid caps.
Ashwini, a view on L&T Finance Holdings, that stock's moved to the high point of the day, has had a decentish month in an otherwise choppy month for all the financial space, all the financial stocks. So L&T Housing Finance up about 5% this month.
See, from a very long-term perspective, you can buy it, but the issue remains that this entire NBFC space is a kind of can of worms, like what happened with Piramal yesterday. Who has what? That's still getting figured out. But overall, within NBFC, you can say it's one of the outperformers. But overall, the space is fairly controversial, and I doubt it's going to, appreciate in a hurry.
Okay. All right. Ashwini, what about your disclosures?
Well, similar advice has probably been given to our clients also.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much for that, Ashwini. Well, let's move on then. And that's a big CNBC TV18 exclusive. Now, tough times call for tough measures. And CNBC TV18 learns that after months of trying to recapitalize the airline, its promoter Naresh Goyal has finally agreed to sell a controlling stake in Jet Airways. And there are various talks that are going on as well. Kritika joins in to fill us in with a quick update on this. Kritika, what are you picking up now?
Well, when Jet Airways promoters started looking out and talking to prospective investors, they were very clear that they wanted a minority equity investor to come on board and infuse capital into the company. However, after talks with several investors, including private equity investors and strategic investors, it's very clear that at this point in time, a strategic investor would not want to come on board unless and until Naresh Goyal lets go of control and gives up a controlling stake. So we understand now that Naresh Goyal has clearly communicated that yes, he is now finally willing to let go of a controlling stake in Jet Airways. We do understand that he has met with the three investors that they are talking to at this point in time, which includes Tata Group, Etihad, and a consortium of Air France, KLM and Delta. This is what we have been reporting. Now, he has communicated to them via bankers and via independent meetings that he is now interested in taking talks forward. So yes, all are now entering the next stage of discussions, and he has said that he would like to retain a minority stake. So that would be below 5% is what he has indicated. He would like to continue in the company via a board seat, via perhaps a chairman emeritus kind of a position. Again, that will depend upon the conversation and how they go forward. But he has very clearly indicated that $1 billion is the infusion that is required into the company, and he wants to do what is best for the firm at this point in time. And yes, giving up control is one of the things that he might have to do, and he's willing to do now.
Right, Kritika, hang in there. Seems like the street is taking note of this story right now. The stock up 7% from lows, zooming on the back of the fact that perhaps Naresh Goyal has thrown in the towel looking to sell his controlling stake. You spoke about three potential investors. So what exactly is the position of these potential investors at this point? Why don't you take us through what's on the table?
Well, as we said, investors are now going to reach the next stage of discussion, which will include talking about the valuation and going into the details of the contours of the deal. So as far as the conversations with Tata Group goes, we understand that Tatas are looking, and we had reported this earlier, to take over a controlling stake and eventually merge Vistara with Jet Airways. Earlier, they were actively talking to Jet Airways to take out Etihad stake as well, but they're open to Etihad continuing as a minority investor. They're also open to Naresh Goyal continuing as a minority investor and open to taking over the debt of the company. They're also talking to Jet Airways for a possible infusion into jet privilege as well, but that's going to be a part of the deal. Now, the Etihad offer is different since Etihad is a investor at this point in time with 24% stake. They want to now buy out portion of Naresh Goyal's stake and infuse fresh capital. And as a result of that, they want to hike their stake from 24% to 49% if the deal goes through. Air France, KLM and Delta are investing or are talking to them for a possible investment as a consortium. The talks with Air France, KLM and Delta don't seem to be as serious because there's just been 2 rounds of discussions so far. They haven't really gone into the nitty-gritties, but so far they have indicated that they want Goyal as well as Etihad's stake in Jet Airways. But it will, of course, depend on how and what they communicate in the next stage of discussion.
Okay, Kritika, thanks so much for that. Clearly, the stock is reacting to that piece of news. The stock has moved now to the high point of the day. So let's keep an eye out on that. It's now going through the roof. In fact, it's moved up from the lows. I think the stock was trading in the red. And the intraday chart is telling you all the way from around the 285 odd mark, it's moved up by nearly around 8% approximately. So we'll keep an eye out on that. And Kritika will keep getting us the latest on that. Remember, she had broken it here on CNBC TV 18 itself when they were in talks with the Tata Group as well.